Hello, YouTube watchers. Welcome back. Today I'll be looking at 3 interviews that Ronnie Watts gave, the latest of which was less than a year ago. The other 2 were at the police station in Colorado the day Chris confessed. One was before the confession, the other was after. The first clip I'm going to show you is from Ronnie's 2020 interview where he reveals which confession he believes. Later on, we'll hear his thoughts on the other confession. And for those who watched my last video and thought I was a little hard on Twats Jr., my view is hurt a child or an animal, and that makes you fair game. It also makes you a twat.
The hurt and the pain I seen in that boy's face that day, I believe what he told me sitting there. I mean, he's just like, as far as emotions, he's just like me. When he told me, he said, Dad, I cannot put them with her after what she did. And turned around after that said she was evil. And I believe him.
Now let's listen very, very carefully to the moment Chris confesses and what he says Shanann did to the children, because it doesn't sound like choke to me. Initially, Chris says she smothered them. Ronnie says smothered or choked. And as Twats is apt to do, he goes with his father's suggestion of choked, and the rest is history. In this clip, an officer comes into the room to interview Ronnie for the first time, as Chris is in the other room being interviewed by Tammy. And thank goodness most of the videos I found had subtitles because this guy is very difficult to understand. So I'll be jumping around between the 3 videos, but I'll label them either pre-confession, post-confession, or 2020 for last year's interview.
So how you doing? Stressed out and stuff. I totally understand. I didn't understand what happened or what's going on. Yeah. Let's see. I think I'll tell them shit. Grant. Yeah. And she's a very controlling woman as far as that. And my wife says she's a narcissist from what she got. I guess. Well, you know, if I can put you up on something, just answer you a couple basic questions, just your name and all that information, so I can take notes.
Funny how the officer just says, "How are you?" And Ronnie launches into his Shanann character assassination. And the officer has to cut him off and ask, maybe I can start with your name? Makes you wonder what story Chris must have been spinning about his family's disappearance on the drive over from the airport, because Ronnie seemed pretty eager to tell the officer how Shanann was unstable and a narcissist. He seemed to have this whole narrative prepared. It's either that or he's heard it so many times from Cindy, he knows it by heart. But then he offers another story, one that we've heard many times before in America.
And then at the construction, I want to ask you again about that. So there's construction going on behind your house. Yeah. Can you see anybody that?
Well, I just brought that up to him on the way back from the airport.
Oh, you brought, okay. He didn't mention it.
No, he didn't, but I mentioned that to him. I said, there's like folk around people, they come little crews, come and go. You got electricians over here, plumbers over here, woodworkers over here, and they work 2 or 3 jobs and poof, they're gone. I'm just throwing that out there. I said, I don't think about it. If there were scenarios, what could happen? Right. I said, let's throw that out there. I said, heard the kids might have been in the backyard. And, I mean, there's plenty of people around there, but depending on what time of day it was and stuff, too. So.
Yeah.
You should look into them brown people hanging around the house. Maybe they went poof and took Shanann and the girls with them. Just throwing it out there. A Hail Mary, if you will. A definite go-to when you want to cast suspicion elsewhere. Or whatever. I discovered that Ronnie randomly inserts the word whatever into his speech in much the same way his son Twats uses the word like.
Okay, when they got back here, they did the sonogram for the baby. And we have not talked to her from the time that I'll tell you about the little story about the little falling out they had. she sent this picture of the sonogram to me at 8 o'clock in the morning, my time, so it's 6 o'clock in the morning here. No comment or nothing on it, no nothing. At 11:30, well, it was time change, okay, and at 1:30 that afternoon, she texted back, wanted to share the picture of the new baby. And she's reaching out, so that's when Chris, I think, originally told her that he had separation and stuff. That takes us, when she sent the picture of the sonogram, and that was about the same time Chris told her, and said, it ain't working. And that's when she was trying to get back in our lives. Come to make up for all the shit she's done, I guess, over the years, whatever. I guess that was a reach out to us, more or less, the way I look at it, trying to make everything all hunky-dory now again. Maybe she's thinking maybe Chris would change his mind or something or whatever, and she's talking about it or whatever. I don't know what her point behind that was. But that's when, I'm pretty sure that's where that text come from, when he told her that he wanted a separation.
Yeah, how dare Shanann reach out and send them a sonogram of their grandchild? They hadn't heard from her in 5 weeks, and now she wants to talk to them? The nerve! There doesn't seem to be a bottom to their level of pettiness. I'm wondering if she sent a text because they wouldn't have seen her post on Facebook, since they blocked her, which leads to the next clip.
I can pull up some of her stuff still on her Facebook, some I can't. I think one of those blocked.
So Ronnie lies here and says he's the one blocked from Shanann's Facebook. All his family are blocked, but the data dump from Shanann's phone indicates it was the Twats family that blocked Shanann and all of her family. We see here in this image from the discovery documents where Chris acknowledges during an argument over the infamous Nutgate that his family is not innocent in all of this. He says they shouldn't have blocked all social media contact. Ooh, and she responds with, "Move back home where you weren't appreciated when I met you." And in the midst of all this, Nicole is Googling Shanann Watts and probably looking at her pregnancy posts while sending Twats nude photos of herself. The plot thickens. But I'm getting ahead of myself. That's a whole other video that we're going to have a lot of fun with. But it's the perfect segue into this next clip about cheating.
Not gonna let me go. Is there any reason why they shouldn't?
No, they know I had an affair. And they know. I can't complain about that.
Ronnie didn't seem a bit surprised when Chris said, "They know I had an affair. They know." He says it in such a way that would imply his father already knew he was cheating. And the senior Twats says to officers in the post-confession interview, unprompted, "She told him, if you ever cheat on me, or whatever, I will turn it on you tenfold." Meanwhile, Nicole sure knew who Ronnie was because she had Googled him days before. And there appeared to be phone calls shown on her Verizon bill to Fayetteville, North Carolina in the days before the murders. So I don't buy that Ronnie didn't know nothing about no affair or whatever. He knew.
She said it was all Christopher's idea, getting pregnant again. And Christopher said, it was all her idea.
Did Chris want another child?
No, he always wanted a son, but
Did they know the gender?
Not yet.
No.
Interesting he thinks his son didn't know the gender. Twats and Shanann found out they were having a son on Thursday, August 9th, and they even picked out a name. Twats spoke with his father at least twice between then and the murders. They were texting as well, and he didn't think to mention that his hope of having a son was going to be realized. So Ronnie must now know that his son lied to him, or at least withheld some significant information. And he still chooses to believe his ridiculous story, or whatever. Or maybe Chris didn't tell him the gender because he suspected Shanann was having an affair with another man, also named Chris, as we'll hear in the next clip about the baby's DNA.
Never received it. That one time I did talk to Mr. Work, I asked him about it, about the who the father of the baby was. He said Chris, and that's all he said about the other person that was questionable about that. His name is also Chris, so you can take it that's what it's worth.
The contortions and backflips this family has to do to make their son's lies and actions fit into the truth they want to believe is nothing short of impressive. I think Ronnie, and I don't know if we want to call him Low Wattage Watts or Twats Senior. And some of you will say that's mean, but that's my shtick. And I think based on how we profiled Shanann, he deserves a nickname. Anyhow, he had probably watched one too many of those Maury Povich paternity videos and figured the boy couldn't have been Chris's because Chris can only make girls. He heard she was apparently sleeping with another guy named Chris who got her pregnant. But I think I know why Low Wattage Watts became confused. Watch this next clip and I think you'll understand.
So can we talk about two Chris's? Okay.
Two Chris's.
The tale of two Chris's? Okay. And you need to help me know which Chris I'm looking at today and which Chris you really are. So, Chris number one is right here, right?
And legend has it, to this very day, Cindy and Ronnie Twats are still searching for the elusive Chris number 2.
Is there anybody in your family have any mental health issues? Aunts, uncles, sister, grandparents, anybody?
Shanann mentioned that he actually told my wife that her mother and her brother both were bipolar, so I don't know.
On her side?
Yeah.
Was she on meds for that at all?
As far as Shanann? No, I don't think she's ever been diagnosed with that. She just told my wife that her mother and her brother was bipolar. But there's nothing wrong with her.
Of course.
Of course not.
Everybody with me in here.
Yeah.
Ronnie, the question was, is there anyone in your family with mental illness? Because leading up to that question, they were discussing Twats and his background. The attacks on his daughter-in-law were brutal and relentless throughout all 3 interviews. I could have done a whole video of just Ronnie bashing Shanann. There was certainly enough material, but I think you all get the point. So in this last clip, Ronnie discusses when he found out about Chris's second confession in 2019 and what he thought about it.
We had no clue they was going up there. We didn't know until after the fact, a few days after the fact, and Chris told us that they come up there. However, I'm not sure what the time period was, but we never knew about it till way after they went up there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they lied to him, which I guess they can do that, and said it's just between them. Of course, they recorded it and released every bit of it, which Chris said thought he had to tell them something, so I guess he just made up something so they'd leave him alone.
I think I would find it even more disturbing to know Twats just made up that horrific story about killing Bella and Cece. Not that I believe all of his story, but still, I would be thinking what kind of a psycho would say that about killing their children if it weren't true. But Ronnie will believe what he wants despite what evidence and logic would suggest. He said in the last interview from 2020 that he's still hopeful that this 35C appeal will come through and Twats will have his sentence reduced. Well, good luck with that, or whatever. One of my upcoming videos will be on the Kessinger interviews, so let me know in the comments below what our new name for Nikki is, because apparently she's been trying to change her name, and I'm sure some of you have the perfect name all picked out. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and thanks for watching.